Hello again, this is Ethan. Today we'll be showing how to put a coolant pressure sensor onto a 6.0 2004 F250. I have had head gasket issues in the past. I've since replaced them with ARP head studs and original Ford gaskets, but still on occasion I do see white residue on top of the Degas bottle there. So I just kind of want to keep an eye on my coolant pressure and see what it's running. I do have a coolant filter that I've installed in the past. You can get those from Diesel Site. I would recommend it if you have one of these engines. And so it's going to be pretty simple. What we're going to do, we're going to put it electronic sending unit right here in line here, and tie it into my Edge EAS expandable pack. I've got the expandable pack that you can just put on universal sensors, and then the Edge Insight sitting in my truck. So a few things that you'll need obviously are a 0 to 5 volt pressure sensor. This one happens to be a 100 psi sensor. I ordered 2 of them, one for my fuel pressure and one for my coolant pressure when I ordered them. They're pretty cheap off of eBay. I think I got them for like 20 bucks a piece or 30 bucks a piece. I'll try to link that in the description. Another couple things you'll need is a T-fitting, 3/8 inch internal diameter, barb fitting to put in between the pipe, going from your coolant bottle to your radiator, and then a couple of clamps to hold that onto the barb fitting, an adapter from the 3/8 inch tube to MPT thread. That way you can get to your MPT thread on the sensor. And then this is a reducer since I couldn't get a female threaded MPT conversion. And then you'll need also a pair of channel locks just to loosen hose clamps and such. So from that point on, we are going to go at it. So the first thing you want to do is take and remove all the pressure off the coolant bottle by unscrewing this cap. I've already done that. You can just leave it loosely on there so you keep debris out. And then take this clamp off here, slide it back, and then wiggle it off so you have that. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a cut right here, and then probably take a chunk out about like that far. I've got plenty of line since I've got a T down here. I don't like doing that just in case I ever want to put it back to stock, but I just need a short chunk to span the gap between the T's. Okay, so I'm just going to use some tubing cutters here. They work really well. Take and cut here. And then you just need a piece long enough for that barb fitting right there, plus another barb fitting on the other side. So I'm just going to take and cut chunk out about like that. Okay, so after you get your piece cut, like here, you slide the one end of the barb in the hose, then put a clamp on there. And then you'll do the same thing with the T. And I'm just going to put it right on this side, the common side of the T. Okay, so after I got the T fitting on there, that's kind of what the assembly looks like. Now you're going to take and put it on this hose here, and then you'll slide the other hose on that goes up to your Degas bottle. I'll do that really quick. Okay, so now after I got that done, you can see the PVC T in there. I'll probably replace that with stainless later, just to make sure it holds. And then you got 3 clamps, and then the clamp on that barb fitting to go to the transducer right there. So now I'm gonna put the transducer into the reducer, thread taping it to make sure, and then I'll put it on the end of that barb fitting. Okay, so I thread taped that now, and so now I'll just put on this adapter reducer. Again, I'll turn that with wrenches to make sure it's tight. And then you got to hook up the electrical here. Okay, so now it's time to wire stuff up. So you have the connector right here off the sensor that needs to connect up to these wires that go to the Edge EAS expandable system. So you have the sensor here. Again, it's a pressure sensor 3-wire connection. And so what we'll do is hook up, this is just a temporary install for now. Once I've test it out and make sure it works, I'll go back and solder all the connections together. But for now, just a temporary connection, so I'm going to use wire nuts. I'm going to use what's called, these are Wago wire nuts. They're just a spring-loaded clip style, like that. Put the wire in and clip them together. So we'll put this one on the black. That one I just happen to have a 3-way. The other ones will be two position wire nuts. You only need 2 position. I just didn't have enough 2 positions. You push the wire all the way in and clip down the orange tab. Get the last one out here. They work really well, and if you need to remove the wire, you can remove it really quick. Okay, so what we're going to do, obviously red is going to be power to the sensor. So here we've got the red wire from the EAS system. Going to power it with. And then we got the black wire to the sensor. Again, we got to send black wire from the Edge system to ground that out. Send it a reference voltage, and then the green wire on the pressure sensor is going to be your signal back from the sensor. It'll actually be a 0.5 to 4.5 volt signal, and that'll be green on the sensor, as you can see there, but it's actually yellow going into the Edge system. Edge just sell their own pressure transmitters that are plug and play. They're very nice, but they're also about 3 times the cost of what these sensors that I'm using are. So that's just one advantage to what I'm using. I will just leave these here like this for now. Like I said, eventually later I'll solder all of them together and shrink wrap them so they're watertight and looking good. So then we just need to plug this cord into the sensor body, if I can get that on camera. Plug that in there. And then you kind of want to route our wires. I'm going to route my wires up and over. I'm going to follow this wire loom here to the corner of my truck where I've got the Edge system, and this is the B side of the universal input. Go ahead and plug that in. Okay, so you got B side plugged in for my coolant pressure. A is already wired up to my fuel pressure, diesel pressure sensor. I'll explain that in another video if you want to watch that. Pretty much the same process, just another monitoring. So what we're looking for, the last thing we have to do is then go and configure the unit that you actually see the display. Turn on your truck first so it'll recognize the sensor, and then you can program, do a custom program and do a range on that. Universal input B from 0 to 100 in my case, or whatever, 0 to 50, whatever your pressure transmitter is. That way it'll display on the screen. So what we're looking for is the pressure in the Degas bottle when you're going down the road. Typically, it depends on the truck obviously, but you don't want to ever see above 15 because that means you're running way too high pressure, and this cap is only rated at 16 psi, so it's going to blow off, and that's when you're going to see coolant all over your Degas bottle. Typically, I've heard on the forums and stuff, people say around 8 to 10 psi. Maybe when you're doing, a lot of load up a hill or something, it might climb to 13 or 14 but it should settle back down to about that 8 to 10 psi range. If for some reason you keep going above that, you need to look at your, above 15 and blowing out coolant, you need to look at your head studs or your head gaskets issue, or if you still have an EGR system, that might be failing too, all caused by maybe an oil cooler going bad. So there's a couple, follow forums. There's a lot of good information on that. Feel free to ask me questions in the comments about trying to diagnose why your coolant system pressure is high, and I can kind of help you with that. I've had this truck for about 6 years now. It's a good running truck, but I've done all the basic maintenance and upgrades to make it bulletproof. Thanks again for watching. Hope it all goes well for you.